Yeah.
Okay.
All right. And we are live. So welcome, everybody. We've got a few people waiting already. We've got one of my friends and great guitar player, Michael Palmisano here. I realized I'd been saying your name the wrong way around for a while, so I apologize for that.
It's all right, man. Great to see you.
You too,
It was so nice meeting you and Dr. Rick at GitCon. It's a shame that's not going to happen again, but I'd love to find another opportunity to actually see you guys face to face. It's good people.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I remember when I first met you, I was like, this guy looks like a cool guy. And then I heard you play and I was like, man, I've said so many times over the last couple of years on the YouTube channel that you're one of the few guys that I heard from there. There was a few, actually, a lot of great guitar players there, but you're one of the few that really stood out to me. You and Michael Wagner were like the two. I just went, wow, totally different approach, unpredictableness, which I said to you before. Yeah, and just great feel. Like, I remember when we did that video together where we were like trying the one amplifier and we had 4 different people playing it. Just your approach to that was really cool. I could hear like country influences, blues influences, rock, fusion, bit of everything. So tell the guys who might not know about you a little bit about your style of music and what you do and a bit about your YouTube channel, and I'll show everybody on screen as well.
Oh my goodness, where does one start? Well, first of all, I really appreciate it. And when we were hanging out at GitCon and you were talking to Gene, PRS was kind enough to bring me there, and you were like, "Yeah, man, it's just so unpredictable." I cannot tell you how much that made me happy because I live for that. I basically don't believe in scripting leads, having a plan. I am wholly and deeply forever unsafe in my playing, and that's how I like it. So I train wreck a lot, but I have a lot of good stuff too. Anyhow, so I grew up a metalhead of all things.
Oh wow!
And so for the first 10 years of my playing, it was Black Sabbath, Pantera, Slayer. Doing all of those types of things. And then I went on a crazy tangent out of nowhere. I don't remember exactly when it switched, but I got deep into bluegrass.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah. So I literally didn't plug in and play electric for a long time and got really deep into playing hyper-focused melodies, fast rhythm parts that are super clean. And I found a lot of those chops translate between, playing bluegrass country stuff and metal. A lot of those legatos things, to me, they made sense. And then over the course of life, I tried a bunch of different things, and that led me a bunch of different places. But I think that what you hear in most predominantly in my style of playing is like they're like metal country licks. Like I kind of played them all the same, and I don't even use gain anymore. Like I basically don't.
That's great.
And but I'm basically playing all the same, very similar stuff. So it's fun.
So let me ask you this. Just sorry to cut you off, but you've also got an extremely percussive way of playing too, especially your rhythmic stuff. Is that part of the metal thing? Like, I know they've got a lot of really intense rhythmic parts, but you're more of it almost sounded like like an acoustic sort of hammer. I play a bit of when I play my 2 things I can do on acoustic guitar. One of them is sort of like a keeping the snare going, like I saw you posted a video about that. Is that part of that original sort of, do metal players do that at all, or is it a whole different thing?
So when you learn to play, there's the music that you like, there's the practicing you do, and then there's the people you actually play with, right? When you get in a room with people and you play, whether you're in a band or whatever you do, that crafts you just as much as what you're listening to or anything else. And I grew up with my best friend who was a drummer, and we never had a bass player or had anybody else. So when I say the first 10 years of my life playing guitar in a band, it was me and a drummer, like literally no other harmonic content. And I also play drums. So I think rhythm first to a fault, like completely. Like it's still to this day what I think of, when I think of like I need to improve, what do I need to work on? It is always harmony and melody, like, because I have focused on rhythm for the vast majority of my life. And yes, that is a kind of a metal thing, but it's also the bluegrass thing. You have to remember, in bluegrass, there is no percussion, right? There is no drummer. If anything, everybody is the drummer. From the violin or from the fiddle, violin, whatever, doing the backbeat with the strike to, the bass, playing the kick and pushing, and everybody coming in and out from one singular microphone. You have to think rhythmically and dynamically more than like that has to be first. You know what I mean? Because that's the style. And so that's it. That's what you're hearing. I appreciate that you noticed that.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, it was just a super sort of had a sort of funky flavor to it. And obviously, all those combined influences, you end up with something pretty unique. And that's what I really loved about you playing. It was just it was like just something completely different. Everyone was playing, classic rock riffs, and then you come in and it's like, oh, here we go. I just related to it instantly. I was like, yeah, I really dig this style. It was awesome.
Well, I appreciate it, man. So I didn't know who you guys were before GitCon either. And I really loved that, you were playing some of the chicken picking, country riffs too. And Dr. Rick is a firecracker, dude. I love Dr. Rick.
Yeah. He's a great dude. He's an awesome guy, and he's an extremely talented player too, because he's played everything. He used to play back in the day with Tommy Emmanuel.
Really?
Yeah, he's got a photographic memory for a lot of things. He retains most of what he reads and what he listens to, so he can pull a song out that he's never played, and he'll picture all the changes in his mind. It's insane. Like, most people didn't realize that about him, and I got chatting to Rick, the Beato, about Rick, and he was like, "Oh, so does he have a truly, like, some sort of pitch perfect ear?" I said, "I don't think so, but what he does, he can hear a song and work out what the shapes are." It's crazy. So he's I don't think a lot of people knew that about him.
I would love to talk to him about that.
Yeah, it's something he's always had. He said it's a very different way. Like, how I think we've all got that to some extent. When you get to a certain point with music within your genre, like, you can kind of go, oh yeah, I can visualize this blues lick because I know the pattern of, I know all the blues notes. I might not know what key it's in instantly, but I can hear the idea and sort of see it in my mind. But he does that to the next level. I remember when King of the Hill, remember that the cartoon show?
Yeah.
He got, first time I recorded him, I said, "I'll see if you can play this." He's never done it. He got it right the first time. He just played it on guitar. I was like, oh, that's awesome.
I did not know that about him. I'd love to have that conversation, but
we'll get him on next time we do something. That'd be cool.
Dude, I'd love that. I watched the live stream you did with the whole band a few weeks ago.
Oh, and cool.
You guys sound great. Oh,
thanks, man. That was pretty much all just in the moment stuff, just with friends. Like, that's the way blues goes. We start something and hopefully it works, and we edit out all the stuff that didn't make it.
well, what I like about it is that, so many, and we can go on the YouTube tangent whenever you want and talk about that. But what I like about it is that it puts things in context. Like, you talk about the gear, but then you play the song. You do it, and then you talk about what you're doing with the thing, and it's not just this standalone video. Where I feel like most of us, and I know you can't do that type of content all the time because it's very hard to schedule, and especially now with the quarantine thing. But it's very cool to see someone talk about the gear but in a live band scenario and see a play and not just someone in a room. It was a great change up. I really enjoyed it.
Can you still hear me, by the way?
Yeah, your audio changed though.
Yeah, good. Is it better?
Yes.
Yeah, all right. I was on my webcam. For some reason, I set all this stuff up beforehand, and then when I click go live, it changes back to my webcam. So as long as you can hear me all right now, that's fine.
I got you.
Audio's not good. There we go.
Yeah, I got to go over and read some of the comments. But yeah, we're good. We're good.
All right. So yeah, welcome everybody. If you just joined, which we've got, I think, 100 people here already, which is fantastic. We're here with Michael from, now you formerly the Guitar Gate channel, I guess.
Looks like I changed it. Actually, I changed it the other day because I was talking to our mutual friend Rick Beato, and he was like, "Dude, you're doing a great job with your channel. Can I give you some advice?" And I was like, "Dude, of course, Rick. What's it?" He goes, "Say your name." And I was like, "What do you mean say my name?" He's like, "How many?" He's like, no one knows your name. And I was like, "Dude, I can't tell you how many emails I've gotten saying, 'Hey, guitar teacher that I don't know your name.'" And he was like, "Yes, exactly." And I was like, "Well, maybe I should change the name of my channel to my name." He goes, "Yes, do it now." so I just did it. I just did it. But Guitargate is the name of my website where I have all my courses and lessons. And so that's not going to change. But I changed the channel to my name because Rick convinced me that it was the right choice, basically.
Yeah, I think it's a much better name. I mean, like Guitargate, it's cool, but I think it's like having your name there is definitely the way to go on YouTube. Makes it a bit more relatable, I think, than having a
and if you don't have multiple hosts, there's no reason to have a show name. If it's always just you, then people are tuning in to see you. But if you have a channel with multiple hosts and you have always a bunch of different things, then I get it. Have a name of a show. But anyway, it's been Guitargate for 7 years, and now it's my name, and so hopefully people still find me.
So Richard says, enjoy both the channels, guys. Michael, I found you from a Udemy course. I don't know what that is. You did on being successful in a cover band. Great content.
Oh, thank you, Richard. So if you guys don't know, Udemy, you can search udemy.com, whatever, is the world's largest online course platform. And before I invested in my own website and et cetera, I put my courses on Udemy. And you can go on Udemy right now, and I'm number 2 for guitar. It's an old course from 2013, but I think I have like 60,000 students maybe, on Udemy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Far out.
Yeah. And so most people, before I started got some recent YouTube traffic, which is only like in the past few months, most people found me through my Udemy course. And then when they wanted my other courses, then they would find me over at Guitargate. So yeah, I've spent the past 7 years making courses and teaching. That's what I do. And so Richard, you're off the screen. I think your name was Richard. Thank you so much for taking that, and I'm glad that you liked it. Yeah, I made a course about how to be in a successful local cover band, because that's also what I did for many years to pay the bills.
You know what video I found of you first and I only realized like after we'd met that I'd actually watched more of your stuff. It was, I think, a really simple approach to learning lead guitar, like the fundamental ideas about just getting started. You did some lesson that had a lot of views, and I think you were in a different room. Like it was like had a lot of, I can't remember visually. It had a lot of natural light. It looked like it was.
I posted, I think that video has like 350,000 views on it now, but I posted, when I first started my channel, I posted one video from that Udemy course. And I think it was Improvisation 101, basically where to start. And, like all of us that watch our old stuff, the video quality is terrible. The audio quality is terrible. It's like unwatchable to us now. Right. But but yeah, that kind of started it all. And that was one video of my first course back in 2013.
Very cool. We've just got, what does Jamal say here? Welcome to the chat, everyone. Enjoy the conversation. Hit the like button. Thanks for that, Jamal. We also
appreciate that.
We also have a super chat here from Guitar Journey, who's been supporting the channel quite a lot lately. Thanks, Matt. I appreciate that. He says, sorry if this question is a bit too obvious, but when you collect gear or instruments, do you collect them for personal use and practical reasons, or do you collect them for resale value? So I'm just going to say I never buy anything with the intention of having the resale value high. I buy it because I want to actually use it, and I don't buy something just to leave it under the bed. How about you, Michael?
So yeah, I'm similar, but different in the sense that I am someone who basically never changes up. I basically don't buy gear, and I don't know. I mean, I'd like to hear your opinion on it, but I feel like the guitar players that I grew up with, that I loved, they played the same guitar through basically the same amp for 30 or 40 years and the same pedals, and nothing changed ever.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's just, with the exception for studio people who need a bunch of different options, I feel like this whole concept of having a bunch of options and a bunch of guitars and a bunch of different amps, it's pretty foreign to me. Like it's hard for me to find something I like, and when I do find it, I keep it, and I generally play it forever. Like for example, I don't know if you could see, but the 3 guitars I have the most hours on, they're like the only 3 that I've really purchased, is I have that PV Wolfgang that was my metal guitar that I definitely have my 10,000 hours on that guitar, and I played that exclusively for 10 years probably. Didn't pick up another guitar. And then I went and I got a Taylor 510 acoustic for my bluegrass thing, and I never had another acoustic ever, And then I went and got this Fender Bullet back here.
Yeah.
And I got it just because it came into the shop where I was a teacher when I actually taught lessons, and I couldn't put it down. It's basically unplayable. The truss rod is coming out the back. The neck has been broken off. It won't take new frets anymore. It doesn't stay in tune at all, but I love it. I absolutely love it. It's probably worth $100, right? And I love it. And so I've played years on that guitar. And then when I got into PRS, this was the one that did it for me, the 594. And I've played this guitar basically exclusively for the past 5 years. I really don't switch it up. You'll see me play different stuff, like if I am borrowing a guitar. But for the most part, I don't collect anything. I have one amp. I have basically no pedals. I just don't. I'm a minimalist. I feel like if I have too many options, I make no decisions.
Yeah, I'm a bit the same. Like recently I actually downsized all of my guitars. I don't really collect them, but I was fortunate enough to have a lot of them come in for reviews, and then they just stay here. And if they're ones that I know I'm not going to play, I ended up just getting rid of them because I don't like having too much gear. I still play live, right? So I've got amps I want to take into a smaller room. Mm-hmm. I've got ones that are completely pedalless, like a Marshall, which I love the flexibility of not having to have my pedal board with me all the time. Just plonk it down and I'm good to go. Totally. Then I got my Fender sound, which I love using my effects with. So yeah, I think amps for me is more of what I'm going for, more than like just getting the sum of all the guitars in the world. I don't really feel that's necessary. I've been lucky enough to also own a lot of guitars over the years, and I kind of feel like I've narrowed it down to the sounds that I love and what I'm looking for. And I'm not going to, I said this a while back, I'm not going to buy a new guitar if it doesn't meet my expectations for a long-term, because I don't own a Strat, right? If I buy a Strat, I want one I'm going to keep forever now. I don't want to buy one that's going to last for 2 years and then I'm going to sell it. Like it's just a waste of money.
And also, I understand if you need, like what you're talking about, different tools to do different work, right? But I also really think that there is something to, if you stick with one guitar, you get better. Like your muscle
Yeah,
memory,
right.
your muscle memory is different when
Mhm.
it plays a different scale length, different size frets, different tension, or whatever. So if you just stick with the same guitar and you don't change up, and you practice hard, you practice often, and you put in the
Yeah.
hours, you're going to get better quicker than trying to find it in a different guitar or a different pedal. You'll get it in your hands quicker. I mean, I believe
Yeah,
that.
no, you're totally right. I remember when I used to only play Strats for a long time, I was so used to that. I just played the same Strat for years live, and it was like second nature. And it was the same thing when I went to a 335. I played that for years, and I was like, oh, this is it. And then I was like, nah. Problem with me is I got so many influences musically with blues that all have different sounds. And I'm like, man, that's great. I wouldn't mind getting that sound. And then you realize, well, I can kind of approximate it, but it's all in their hands and, all
I
that kind of
know.
stuff too.
I know. It's funny because it's like sometimes you want that creamy, humbucker, sustain for days. And sometimes you want the Telecaster ice pick. You know what I mean? That is just taking people's heads off, and they have
That's
to
my
leave the
signature
room.
sound, man. Come on.
And that's why I love you. But it's so funny. Like, I love this conversation because when you see the great players, they're not. They don't have a bunch of different sounds. They have their one sound.
Yeah.
Obviously, session people and recording is a different conversation. That's totally different. But it's just so fascinating to me. How often do you play live?
It was every Sunday.
Yeah,
pretty much. Like one way or another. I'm gigging once every 6 weeks or so,
mm-hmm.
And I'm playing at a jam pretty much every week. I like to get in there and make some noise because it's a different skill set. I think what people don't realize, playing live and playing at home, or doing anything at home musically is very different. As a friend of mine who's getting singing lessons, and I said to him, singing was a singing lesson person or a teacher, and then going out and doing it live with a band that's not completely on time or things are different to what you're used to practicing. It's a completely different skill set. I said, while you're still learning to sing, and that's a good thing, the whole playing live thing is very different. You obviously bring in what you've learned, but you got to be you got to be more what's the word I'm looking for? Malleable. Yeah.
I mean, and that's what I love that you talk about it from that approach. Someone else who does that, I just saw jump in the comments, is our friend Mike Bradley, who we also met at.
Hey, there he is
out there. He gigs. There's so many people on YouTube that do, whether it's gear stuff or playing stuff or technique stuff, etc. And they don't gig. They're not out there using it. And like you said, whether it's trying to find your tone, whether it's trying to find your touch or whatever, something different happens when you're out there on stage. And you can find stuff that sounds great in your room, which is unusable at a club. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you can have licks that you think are amazing, and then you hit it, and then it's just crickets, and the sound guy's in the back, like, So I love that you talk about your stuff, and what's important to you, like from a live playing perspective, from someone that gigs. I think that's very cool, man. More people need to do that. Yeah, it's a big deal for someone like me. I love seeing that.
One thing I've noticed in respect to the crickets comment you were talking about before, I think sometimes, not sometimes, a lot of the time, I guess, guitar players can want to out fancy a lot of other guitarists when they're playing live, and I always feel like it's less relatable for people watching if it's like almost to like just there's obviously places you can play at where it's going to make sense to the crowd. But if you're playing at a regular pub or a bar or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And someone's doing a lot of out of the box stuff, and then someone just comes up. I always look at it like this. There's times where someone who's playing a very simple pentatonic or they play with a lot of space is more relatable to listen to sometimes than the overly complex or fancy stuff in a live mix. It's great for the guitarist or the musos to go, oh, listen to this guy. He's playing all this out of the box stuff. But sometimes I'm always like, sometimes the simple stuff is the most relatable. And I don't know. I've never been a fancy guitar player. I mean, I can appreciate. I got some friends that can play right out of the box and play all kinds of crazy stuff. But there is something different about playing live and what connects with the audience. And it's almost like relevance to the song. Like you could play a cover song and have a really great guitar player who's completely out of the box, and then have someone who's pretty average playing the solo out of the song or something very similar. And most people will relate to that, more simple approach or something that sounds similar to what they're used to. You know what I'm saying? It's sort of like there's this weird thing going on with the live stuff.
I totally understand what you're saying. And getting the immediate feedback from the audience and the other musicians, it's you're out there, you're naked, you find out immediately whether it works or not. And there's something that just happens when you're in the fire that you get better so much quicker. Like you'll never get as good practicing 8 hours a day than if you gigged every day for 1 hour. Like there's just it's light years difference. And what I always tell people, going back to what you're talking about, the simple stuff connecting more, is when I was in my recent band, talking about the guy said he bought my cover band course. It was totally pay to play. It was the highest dollar corporate stuff because everybody had kids and everybody needed to make as much money as possible, right? Mm-hmm. And so what you do in those bands, and we did like 120 plus shows a year, right? All local. And what you do in those bands is it's obviously a cover gig, but you play the biggest songs of all time to very different demographics, right? And you play them to a lot of people at one time, big filled rooms. And what you learn is that even if you don't like the music, like you don't really like playing, whatever Taylor Swift song you have to play or whatever it is, or even if, you don't like the Michael Jackson song, whatever it is you don't like, you realize immediately the second you hit that melody, especially songs like any Journey song, Crowd Killer, no matter who you're playing with, like you realize immediately that if you play what the average person in the room, what their ear is expecting, right? Yeah. If you just start with the melody and you're playing a tune that you don't really know and you do the vocal melody, if you play to my barometer, what I think about whenever I'm at a gig is someone gonna have something I did stuck in their ear in the car on the way home? That's always it. Yeah. And those things are usually 3 notes, generally speaking, and that's what it is, whether you call it a melody, whether you call it a hook or whatever. I just did a video on this very subject. Have you ever seen Eddie and the Cruisers, that movie?
No, I don't think so. Oh, maybe.
If you go to my YouTube channel and you scroll down maybe 20 videos or so, there's a video called "Every Musician Should Watch Eddie and the Cruisers," and there's this great scene where there's an old guy and a young guy, and the young guy is doing all the firecrackers, right? He's playing like crazy, and the old guy sits there, he puts his guitar down, has a cigarette, and he's like, "What'd you think?" He goes, "Oh, that's pretty good." He goes, "Pretty good? Pretty good? What do you mean?" And he goes, "I'll tell you what pretty good means. If I was at the club and I was in there, I'd be having a good time. And I'd say, that guy's a good guitar player. But then I'd go home and I'd forget all about it. That's what pretty good means."
Yeah.
And then he picks up the guitar and he plays, shocker, a melody. And right now, sitting right now, I had made that video weeks ago. I can hear the melody in my ear. It's an earworm. And so, like, to me, that is always the goal.
Yeah. Anytime I know a lot of people think I only play blues, but anytime I write songs that aren't strict 12 bar, any guitar part I come up with has to be, I start with a hook, always start with a hook. Every song has got a hook lick
Yeah.
that I come back to. As simple as it sounds, it works because you're expecting it more like as the song goes round. So the hooks and the melodies are something I need to obviously work on a lot, but they're the things that hooks are all. Anytime I've done a guitar part for somebody, I'm always thinking about what's the hook or the little piece that people will hear or the reoccurring theme. And yeah, it's definitely the way to go. I mean, that's why guys like Knopfler and you name it, all these other great guitar players, you can sing along with them and they're fantastic. We had a good question here actually that I want to put on the screen.
Go for it.
Some Gabriel, he says, when do you feel ready / have the chops to play out or gig? I don't think anyone ever really feels ready. You got to give it a go. I don't know. That's my opinion. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the thought process behind that correction, that question, is you're assuming, there's a false assumption being made that it works that way, that you get to a point where you're ready to gig. Well, that's not how it works. You gig because you force yourself to get up there. You force yourself. It's just like in sports, like you get out there and you start. And then once you start, you're going to have good things and you're going to be bad things and you're going to get through it. And then the gig will be over. And then you realize you didn't die. Maybe you did something good, maybe you did something bad. But the point of it, as far as getting better, when you feel ready, have the chops, is to keep dusting yourself off, to keep going out there, and to keep trying to get better. So you don't get to a place where then you say, okay, now I can gig. You just start gigging, and you train wreck, you have great nights, you train wreck, you have great nights, and the more you do it, the better you get, the more comfortable you get. But there is no spot you get to where it's like, oh yeah, I'm good, I can gig.
Yeah. And one thing I always, the reason I continue to play live, even at jams, and I know a lot of the friends there, it's a bit of a social thing too.
Yeah.
But the consistency becomes like your baseline consistency. Even if you have a bad night or internally you're thinking, I'm not really playing that well. If you're comfortable, odds are it's still going to sound pretty good. Great night, the difference between being consistent and having a great night might be not that much. Whereas if you're only doing it once every 6 months, you're going to have this big gap between where you could be at consistency and being, a full-blown beginner. So in context of a live situation, because there's a lot of variables that go on, especially at blues jams, that a lot of people don't realize. It's not like playing to a CD. There's a MP3 or whatever now.
And that's the point. It's a completely different skill set with different goals and different intentions. You can practice every day a 12 bar in the key of E for 6 months, and have it down flat. And then if you don't gig, you can walk up on stage with some people you've never played with, get a 12 bar in E, and completely face plant, right? Because of your nerves, or because of it's not exactly the same track, or you're playing someone else's. All the things that make being human, right? And it's a completely different skill set. So you never practice enough to gig. You just keep getting, and you get better at gigging. And I assume, I haven't done much studio recording, but I assume it's the same thing for all the studio guys that do it. They only are as good as they are because, they've had to come up with really memorable stuff that sounds great immediately on the spot, or they don't get paid, and they do that year after year after year after year, and that's how someone like a Tim Pierce or like Tom Bukovac I just found. That's how those people become, sounding like the record every time they pick up their guitar, because they've had to do that. They've put themselves in a situation where that's how they eat, and they've had to do that, and be perfect so many times for so long that you turn into that person.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Mike Bradley just says, practice what you must, play what you love. Quote from Larry Carlton. There we go.
I have not learned much Larry Carlton. Have you?
No, I've seen him play with guys that I like, but I haven't like delved into his stuff. I've only heard little bits and pieces online. I haven't really soaked in much of his stuff, but there's a really great video of him and Chris Kane, who's my favorite blues guy out of San Francisco.
Okay.
They're playing together. Chris Kane's like, you'd love it. If you haven't heard of him before, he used to play in the Robert Ford band. He's got a jazz, blues, funk fusion mix of stuff that he does with all the classic blues chops and a voice like B.B. King.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, he's a monster. He's an absolute monster.
I've heard the name. And I've had lots of people request for me to do a video on him. But as far as I know, I have not heard this dude.
Yeah. Look up a song called I know all the lyrics, but I can't think of that. I'll shoot it to you anyway.
All right. I'll do a video just for you on it. Shoot it to me.
All right, we'll do. I'll send it to you. What's the name of the song? Oh man, it slipped my mind. I've listened to it like a million times. Now I'm in the moment. I can't think of it, but yeah. So we got some nice comments here from Gabriel. Says great answers. Thanks, guys. Love both of your channels. That's great. If you're not already subscribed to Michael, links are in the description of the video on YouTube and also on Facebook as well. We're streaming to both. We're doing the StreamYard thing here, so hopefully it's all good.
By the way, I like this StreamYard. I've never done it before. This works well. Looks good.
This is my second time using it officially. So yeah. There's so many great Chris Kane videos that will blow your mind, man. He's a guy that never runs out of ideas, and I saw him live a couple of years back here in Melbourne, and it was just unbelievable. You'll get a kick out of it. Yeah,
good. Yeah, just find me the one that you want me to see, and I'll do it. I love it. I love it.
Cool. I can do that. No problems at all. So if anyone has any questions for either of us, feel free to. I'm looking at the chat here. We can take some more questions. If I've missed one and
go for it,
and you want to just ask it again, go ahead and I'll get down to it. Man, I should have put the heater on in here. I'm freezing cold. You see me shivering. It's just because I got up and the house isn't warm yet. So let's scroll down here. So I guess who are you listening to right now that you think, man, I'm loving what this person's playing? Or have you found anyone recently that you go, dude, you know what? Where was this guy like for the last 20 years?
So this is a perfect segue because I'm going up the comments. I'm trying to find it. I can't find it, but someone asked a question basically like, what do you do when you feel stale, you're in a rut, you haven't played anything new in a while? God, why can't I find the comment? Anyhow,
I'll look for it. Oh
yeah. Anyhow, so those periods don't ever stop. I don't know about you, but I've picked this thing up and put it down about 3 or 4 substantial periods of time, since I started doing this, as basically this is who I am as a person, you know what I mean? And the most recent one was just this past year in 2019. You might not know this, but I didn't play guitar basically for like 5 or 6 months in 2019.
Yeah, wow.
But I still had a bunch of content and everything. So like I had my courses, so it wasn't a problem making a living or anything. But my channel was Whisper Cry, and I was totally burnt out, completely and totally burnt out. And it occurred to me that I had spent the past 7 years trying to figure out how to be an online teacher, trying to do all those things right, trying to figure out how to make this work, but not actually working to get better at my instrument, right? Yeah. Not actually working to get better at my craft, right? Mm-hmm. Where you're just like, oh, I got to make a video. I got to respond to my 1,000 emails that look like a dumpster fire. Yeah. And so I literally put the guitar down for months. And then my wife who's a big John Mayer fan, had friends of hers saying, "Hey, we're gonna go see John Mayer, and but he's playing with Dead and Company." And and so I was like, all right. I'd known of the Grateful Dead, but I'd never gotten into it, right, at all. I mean, you can't be a guitar player and not know who Jerry Garcia is or know about the Grateful Dead, but I had never got bit by the bug or anything. But like I said, I hadn't played guitar in a long time. I hadn't been to a show in forever. And so I was like, all right, we'll go. And I go to the show, and I'm like, I'm watching and I'm listening. And I'm like, what are these songs? I really like a lot of these actual songs, like the lyrics, the melody, like I like the songs. I'm such a song guy instead of like an instrumentation guy. And 2, I was like, this sounds completely nothing like I've heard John Mayer ever do. Right? It
was pretty surprising to me actually when I heard him as well. I was like, oh, because I sort of avoided that as well. I wasn't that interested, but I'd seen it pop up, and I thought, oh yeah, this is very different. Sorry to cut you off. Yeah,
no,
I had the same sort of thing. I was like, oh,
well, I think everybody did. They're like, who's this dude? What the hell is Bobby? I mean, what the hell is Body is a Wonderland up there with Bob Weir looking like a wolf? So everybody had that feeling. But there I was, and I was like, look at this dude. Here's a dude that is impossibly successful in his own right, writes his own music, sounds very signature. He's got a bunch of his own sounds, a killer player, playing a strat, bluesy stuff, his own thing. And then he goes and takes a hired gun gig for playing someone else's music and gets all new gear. Sounds totally different, even uses different vibrato, completely different phrasing. You never heard him before play through changes chromatically like that. He was a blues guy. He played, key centered, guitar centric stuff, a la Stevie Ray Vaughan, right? And you never heard him play through changes and making melodies like Garcia does through changes. And so right then and there at that show, I was hooked, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go home, and I'm gonna figure out how someone like that can do a complete 180. What is it about this music and this thing? And so for the past 6 months or so, I have been super, super deep into the jam band, improv based music. At first and foremost, I'm going completely into the Dead more than anything else, and it really suits me because I'm an improviser. I'm not someone that crafts stuff, but it's a whole world that I've never explored and never learned, and so that's what I'm into these days. I'm cool. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, he's a phenomenal talent. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I don't really like his voice a whole lot. I've kind of gone off it a bit, but his musicality he's one of the greats. I think he can play all different styles, and being schooled as well. I think is it Tomo Fajudo? Is that how you say his name? I always get that wrong.
I think so. Yeah, the Berkeley guy. He's great.
Yeah, he was saying that. He did a lot of the jazz stuff, which would have been playing through a lot of changes too. But then to turn that into like the rock sort of, the rock feel is very different again. So it shows you how much knowledge these guys have. It's a whole different level, or at least compared to us humans, anyway.
Not even the knowledge. It's the amount of time you have to woodshed, to learn a new genre. Especially one where you're in a huge established band that is built around the entire audience hanging note for note on guitar solos, right? Like that is like people literally, equate Garcia as to like a prophet. Like they are actively listening to every note of your guitar solo. I'm serious. It's a whole world I knew nothing about. And now I'm like
oblivious to
jumping
that as
into it.
well.
Dude,
Wow.
I know. And like to those people, it's like, how could you not know? You play guitar. How could you not know? But
yeah.
but you don't know because you live your life, you make your decisions, you know what you know, and it changes when it changes. So but to make that kind of switch requires serious woodshedding.
Absolutely.
Like you have to not only be smart and whatever, but you have to put in the time. You got to reset the 10,000 hour clock and start fresh on something,
Yeah.
It's
I think he was
crazy to
also
watch.
like he went through 2 years or something where he couldn't sing. So I think it might have been his musical outlet to get out there and still play. And because you lose it fast, if you're not getting out there playing, even pros will lose the muscle memory. It won't take them long to get it back, but they'll feel less confident. And I think I even saw an interview with Mayer saying, how nervous he was when he went back because he hadn't played for a while, and just his it is a muscle memory thing when you're playing songs because you got to be on autopilot with your hands, and some of his stuff isn't easy. A lot of his stuff isn't easy. Even his first album, the pop stuff, is pretty complex guitar parts. So I remember hearing him for the first time in Florida back in I'm going to say it was 1999 or 2001 or 2 or something. It was somewhere around there. I heard that Room for Squares album, and this guy's playing some pretty great stuff, on guitar. Yeah, and then I even saw he had a chance to meet you a while back.
yeah, he had a chance to meet me. You're kind. Dude was as nice as can be in person. I'm in Maryland, so I am tight with the PRS people, and they had him come and do a meet and greet at NAMM a couple years ago, and so I got to meet him, and he was as nice as can be. Dude was cool. Absolutely as nice as can be. It's just it. So anyway, to answer the other person's question, it's like sometimes you have to put the guitar down. Or your voice, whatever it is, and you got to come back and you got to just you have to just do something totally completely different, and you can't always just choose it. It has to find you. It has to be organic. And
absolutely.
Sometimes different gear does that for you. Sometimes
Helping Hand is the name of the song.
There you go.
35 minutes later,
Chris Kane, Helping Hand.
Look up a live version. The live stuff is just insane. Any of the clips you see him with the overalls on playing that song, there's a great comment.
Find one with the overalls.
I'll send it to you. They say this about Chris Kane. Okay. Man, Carlos, what's it say? Speaks through his guitar. Carlos Santana. Chris Kane has a three-way conversation or something. That's what they say, because it's just like, what is this? And it will be completely what you don't expect. And when you hear it, you'll go, wow. And then you'll hear another song. And it's like a whole different style. He can play all the beautiful sort of Spanish stuff, just everything. He's got the full bag of tricks while also being a monster of a vocalist.
Yeah.
And a great showman too. Tommy Castro? Have you heard of him before?
I have, yes.
Yeah, so those two guys did a lot of shows together as well. There's an 8-minute slow blues solo with Tommy Castro's band with Chris guesting. And right. Chris plays for 7 out of those 8 minutes. And he's just in the zone. It's funny to watch. And then he looks back and gives Tommy 12 bars and he goes, "That's it, I'm done." You know how Tommy Castro is amazing. There's a few guys that say Chris Kane's the baddest blues player in the world. They're all top tier players. They all love this guy. I can kind of see why.
All right.
You'll love it. You'll love it, man.
I'm pumped.
Oh wow, we got another guitar journey. What are you doing, man? Thank you. You don't have to do this. Far out. This guy's
Richie Blackmore.
way too generous here. Do you have any thoughts on Richie Blackmore as a player? Personally, I find he's criminally underrated in the development of rock guitar playing. I'll let you tackle this one, mate.
All right. Well, it's I don't know too much as far as speaking in terms of the development of rock guitar playing, but again, you talk about playing stuff that gets stuck in people's ear, right? I can hear right now, the solo to Smoke on the Water. Bum, bum, ba-dum,
Yeah.
bow, ba-dum, dun, right? What is it? What the hell? I don't remember. It's been years. But when you come up with stuff that that is just an earworm, Richie Blackmore, always, all of his stuff, that's like Brian May, like people from that era, like their parts that they pick are just so memorable. He's one of those guys. Like I put him in that category because like I can sit here and just think in my brain. I can hear not just the riffs but the actual leads. Like I can hear it. And how many great guitar players can you sit there and just think and just hear the lead like it's a vocal melody? He's one of those guys.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Yeah, that's any of these sort of. Yeah, you're right. The earworm thing is where it's at. If I can think of a couple of guys that have that for me, like personally as well. But just to be able to instantly, recall the notes in your mind at least, or even if you're not, a strong guitar player, you can still sing it in your head, and that's half the battle of trying to work stuff out sometimes too. But no, you're totally right. He's a great player, absolutely.
Totally.
So,
I love his playing. Love his play. Love the keyboards in Deep Purple too. That was a killer band.
Yeah. We've got another super chat here. Far out, Jamal. Thank you, mate. I appreciate that. This is a question for Shane and Michael. What is the one musical goal you haven't achieved yet? Well, I got more than one, mate. There's a lot I still want to learn and try to work out. So,
go for it. Man.
You know what? I would love to be a strong 3-piece guitar player again. There was a time where I was only doing trio stuff, and it was easy. And then you play with I've been lucky enough to play with other guitar players who were, above where I am development-wise or whatever. And it makes it easy to handball off the solo or to handball off some of the rhythm guitar parts.
Mm-hmm.
I really feel like not only that, I'd like to play more out of the box at some point, but I'd like to get my live playing back to where I'm really solid in a 3-piece situation, and that comes just from wanting to practice in that situation more. I really feel like I've kind of let some of my coordination and I don't know if it's just something that happens as you get older, but I feel like, or it's just something I haven't been working on, which is probably more accurate, but I feel like the coordination of playing in a 3-piece band takes a lot more work, and that's just something that I know I feel like I'd still want to get back into and get better at.
Yeah. I mean, the 3-piece thing, I've never been in a 3-piece, but I've always been in awe of people that are, because you have so much air to move. You have so much responsibility. You can't. There is literally nowhere to hide, and you can't phone it in. And you have to play big, and you have to play, you have to play big. You can't play small ball on a 3-piece. And it's people that do it well, I'm endlessly impressed with. For me, and Jamal, thanks for the question. For me, the one musical goal I haven't achieved yet is singing. I can audiate, and so if I'm asked to do backups, but I usually don't because my singing tone is just not good. I'm not a good singer. But I can audiate, so like I can hit a note and match it. And so as long as I hit it a split second before the chord, I can match it in my ear and then cruise up to the microphone. I'm not good at it. But I can not get fired, from the gig. And so I've always thought that the best of the best. I mean, there are tremendous exceptions to this, but the very best of the best players play like they're singing, and they do sing. Just think of all of just the great the greatest of the great guitar players, even if they sung poorly, they sung. I mean, again, there are some extremely, there's some outliers which you can't, like Derek Trucks, like he's probably the baddest dude on the planet, but I mean, he straight up doesn't sing, and I love his answer to that too. I forget where I saw him do it, but he's just like, yeah, why would I sing? Like I'm good enough to know that I shouldn't be the singer. Look who's up on stage with me. And I love that. And I feel that way, but I'm always jealous of the people that can use their natural instrument and emote. And I would love to learn how to do that. I really, really would.
Yeah, that's it. Like I wasn't a natural singer at all, but I've been working on it, and it's gotten better over the years. But I think you've really got to put as much time into it, almost, if you want to do it well, as or more than playing guitar.
Yeah,
it's more exposing. The difference between playing guitar in front of somebody and singing is it's a very different self-consciousness.
Yeah,
like you get way more worried about what people are going to think when you sing, because it's like part of you. Whereas I guess guitar playing is too, but it's a very different thing. So,
and talk about cycling back to the conversation we had before. Talk about live playing, and versus in the studio or practicing at home for singing. I mean, it is literally night and day. I mean,
totally.
I mean, you can just, you see so many of these, especially on the internet, because we're all at home, we're watching video after video after video of all these people, and they sound amazing at home. And it's just like, if you step up to the microphone and it's the lights in your face and there's 1,000 people and it starts to feed back when you get close and there's a band, and it's just like, I don't care who you are. You could practice forever and you could absolutely just, have nothing come out. It could be literally the best night of your life, but like, I'm so envious of people that can get on a stage and get on a microphone and just be fearless and just send it. Those people I look up to so much.
I'm the same. I look at the entire package more than I look at just the guitarist. Like, a lot of people say, this guy's a better player than this guy. But I'm like, yeah, but the other guy sings way better. And he's a really comfortable guitarist as well. So I kind of look at that as, for me, just straight up guitar play. Oh, I love Derek Trucks too. I mean, I got a lot of his music. But I really feel like I'm more into the entire package thing. And that's why I think you'll love Chris Kane too. Absolutely. We've got another super chat here. What's going on, guys? Far out. Thank you.
See, super chat.
This is because you're here, man.
You don't typically get these?
Oh, no, we get a few. But yeah, I think there's more than normal today. So thank you. Have you seen or heard Tash Wolf, and what do you think? I think young, but she seems like will be a force in the future. I've had a lot of people say you need to check out Tash, and I haven't. So
me neither.
Yeah. There you go. There's a reaction video right there,
dude.
So let's you know what?
Track.
We'll have a chat about that too, because thank you, Kerry. I appreciate it, mate. Thanks again for the support. Now, your channel recently has just exploded. I like to keep an eye on all the channels I watch, and I was like, man, you got like 5,000 subs in 3 weeks or something crazy. Like, what happened with these reaction videos? They've just been going off.
Yeah, more than that, man. It's oh God. I've learned that I have to stop looking at the numbers. But yeah, it's been insanity, man. It's been crazy.
I got to say, before everyone rolls their eyes and goes, "Oh, a reaction channel," it's not like some talentless nobody's looking at videos going, "Oh, this is really good," and they don't play an instrument. Like Michael does something that most of these guys don't do, or anybody who's making reaction videos. He can actually play guitar, and he's working things out on the fly. He's doing a lot of good stuff that makes it way more interesting than I've seen some other reaction videos where it's like guitarist reacts to this and they're just sitting there looking at it. I'm like, great.
Yeah.
Great. Well, who wants to watch that? Your stuff is actually fun. I was in that live stream that got pulled the one
Were you?
the fish one. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
man, you
yeah.
had like there was 1,000 people in there. It was
Dude,
going off.
It was more than that. You came
Really?
you came early. By the end, but by the time they
Wow.
shut off, we had 15,000 people watching.
Wow.
Or that had tuned in. All I know is when it got taken down.
I meant concurrent views. Concurrent views. I think when I was in there, it was around like 1,100 or somewhere around there. But I didn't stay for the whole thing.
Yeah, I think it got up to like 2,000. But anyway,
wow.
So here's the thing, and this ties in again to the conversation we were talking about when you're in a rut, and that I started getting into the Grateful Dead, a little bit of John Mayer's journey and transformation to play that music and what that music is and what it means. But the other part of that is that I was deeply professionally burnt out. I had been on YouTube since 2013. I've been an online teacher since 2013, and it's been successful. I mean, I've sold, over 100,000 students in 185 countries, right?
Wow.
I've been doing this for a long time, and I've dedicated my whole life to being a teacher, right? Like more than gigging or anything else like that. And so after 1,000 videos and who knows how long, and et cetera, I was completely burnt out professionally. And it's all connected, right? Because I play guitar. It's a guitar channel. It's a guitar, whatever. Yeah. And so when I picked it up again and I was inspired to play this new type of music, I said to myself, I'm not going to do what I did before and learn a song and do what everybody does. Learn a song, get it right, and then put the camera on and then teach it. So I'm literally going to document my journey, right?
Yeah.
And so I just put the camera on, and I think I started with a Dead and Company, like They Love Each Other. I think that was the first one, something like that. And I just put the camera on, listened to it, picked up the broad strokes. I mean, I'm by no stretch of the imagination figuring out the nuances of the tune. I mean, that it takes days for each tune to do that. If you were gonna gig that song. So, you get the progression, you get the changes, the key takeaways, whatever. And then I just posted it. And I didn't know what to frickin' title it because it's not a lesson, right? Because it's not correct, And so I'm not coming from a place of authority. And I was searching around the internet for anything like it, and I couldn't find anything like it. But I did find these reaction videos. And I'm just like, screw it. I'm just gonna call it Guitar Teacher Reacts because it's guitar. I am a teacher and I am reacting, and I don't know what to call these damn things. And so I just uploaded it. Uploaded it. And I think it's a combination of one, it being completely live and unscripted. Like the only time you see me do an edit is when my camera battery dies and I got to restart it.
Yeah.
Like it's unscripted. And two, I think that there is just very little content for this type of music. I mean, there are thousands of channels dedicated to people shredding, and doing sequence scales and tapping and doing all the there's it's literally all I see in my feed, and there's basically nothing that talks about the actual improvising that happens in these jam bands that take people on these 20-minute improvisational journeys, etc. And so that's why I think it's really changed and taken off, because it really is a format that I fell into organically, that one, other people aren't doing, and two, the music, that community hasn't really been served online. It's just true. So
I love what you do, and seeing it being broke down is really helpful, because you get around the chords so quickly. Like I know might seem obvious to some people, oh, you're working out the chords isn't that hard, but with some of the stuff it is, and you sort of get around it and you work it out pretty quickly. And then it's helpful to see it because people can then start to see, how some common changes fit together. And also,
Sure.
if they didn't want to spend the time working out the chords, even something that simple, they're there. Like you can see what, you've worked it out, and then you can go, okay, so he's playing over this part of this change. And it's really interesting to see someone else break it down, because I know when I work things out, I'm thinking more about the lead parts before the chord parts sometimes, and that's not always helpful because there's sections that don't make sense if you look at it from that way. So no, I just really love the way you're approaching it. It definitely, it's been good, but you've just, I guess at the same time, you got to be cautious.
Dude, it's crazy. It's crazy. Because when you're actually playing the video, well, first of all, it's impossible to teach without context. This whole concept of me actually playing the video in the video it seems so obvious, but no one does it because there's so many copyright things I'm dealing with. It doesn't even, whatever. In the lesson room, anybody that is a teacher or that gigs a lot has to learn a ridiculous amount of songs in a quick time period, right? Anybody, especially that if you're in a cover band, like we had like 300 or 400 songs, we were always adding songs. Or like if you're teaching and you have 50 students a week and 40 of them want a new song every week, you get good at learning the songs, and you're forced to focus on what makes that song exactly what it is. What's the rhythm? What's the harmony? What's the melody? Right? What are they singing about? What's the theme of the tune? What are the hits? What are the key things you have to have? What are the hooks in there? And this is something that every gigging musician does all the time. Every teacher does all the time. And I think that just me putting the camera on and showing it, and because people that are smart or that have been playing a long time realize that I'm only using like a basic level of music theory, and my ear is not that good. But if you do it a lot, I think people watch it, they realize that they can do it. Like you're seeing how people do it in real time that have to learn a lot of tunes. It's
I disagree with you. I kind of feel like you've got a pretty great ear. It's all dependent on it's all dependent on the level of of everybody else watching too, because there were certain sections you were breaking down. You actually went into the technical reasons of how the note, what you might have been playing a flat something or other throughout the solo, and so there's always something that you might say you don't have a great ear or you can't break it down. But watching you do that in real time is pretty cool. Like you break down pretty complicated things. Like I might be able to break down a simple pentatonic thing. So you've got a pretty great.
Well, I appreciate that. I really, really do. But I have to tell you though, that my ear has always from the very beginning been the absolute weakest part of my game, totally and completely. And one of the main reasons that I'm so strong on pummeling music theory into my courses and my teaching in general, like pointing out why that flat 6 happens, or that the 2 is really the 5 of your 5 chord, things like why I hammer that home to students is that once you have that and it, you can figure out how to play through complicated things even if your ear doesn't hear it, and then your ear starts to develop it over time. So you can use a logical approach, a basic understanding of harmony and melody, and create a mental framework. And once you put things in there, then your ear will start to follow suit. Because I'm sure there's many people watching this that were just like me, who grew up, and for the first however many years they played guitar or whatever, they had teachers that didn't teach them ear training, didn't teach them to read. You know, maybe you got some tabs or whatever, and you're physically good, but the connection between all of it, you know, everybody does a different thing. But I never, you know, I went to GIT, I went to school for guitar without knowing how to read and without doing any ear training ever. Like the ear stuff totally has always been the weakest part, and the theory is knowing it front to back and being confident about it is what's helping my ear catch up, frankly, is the truth.
Yeah, cool. I was going to say too, we've been going an hour too, and actually it's been like an hour and 10 minutes. So we did have a 60-minute thing. Are you cool to go for a few more minutes? Is that all right?
Oh yeah, I'm all good. The kids are upstairs. It's we're totally good. I'm enjoying these questions. Most of the time you do these things, and it's so stale. This is such a great conversation. I love it.
Oh no, it's great having you here, and it breaks it up for, you know, the audience on my channel, and it's always great to have someone else's opinion, you know, because through each of our experience, I guess we both got a different or the same perspective on a lot of stuff. But I'm going to ask you, man, your guitar's plugged in, right?
It is, sir.
Yeah. So how about give us some of those really tasty sort of country licks that I love. Here we go.
Yeah, so for those of you that are wondering, I'm just plugged in direct. I have a Focusrite Claret 4 Pre, and this is a PRS 594. And I favor the single coil setting on the coil split here, and the neck pickup.
Yeah, man. See, that got me pulling faces because it's so unpredictable, man. I love it. It's just you got a great sound and a great feel, and it's so, you know, there's something to be said about playing clean and making it sound great. You know, Rick and I were doing that here about a month ago now, I guess. We were having a jam dead clean, no effects or anything, and you realize, like, once you can make that sound good, it's tough work, man. It really is playing dead clean, and it's such a beautiful sound, you know.
It is. I do favor a touch of reverb. I don't like things completely dry. I really don't do delay. I don't like sometimes a little slapback, but really, I just like a good tube amp with good reverb and playing clean. It will really make you humble. It makes you honest, and especially if you're playing through like a really class A tube amp. I mean, you'll hear every little thing, and it'll totally change the way you play.
Yeah, no, you're right. Here's a good question. Here's a good comment for you. I feel like Michael can sing in a deep country blues cowboy voice.
I can't. I'm telling you, I can't. But I love that stuff. I really do. People
we play both kinds, country and western.
That's right. That's right. Dude, I feel like maybe less so now, or maybe I'm just paying attention to it. But I felt like growing up, no one gave country players the respect that they deserve. I feel like everybody was just playing with heavy gain and just shredding people's faces off, and it was that whole thing. And like, I'm so excited to see people online now, like Andy Wood and like some of the others that are just just bitching country players, just love it, like, you know. And like, you realize that those guys can hang with anybody, you know, even though so many of those tunes are just 1-4-5s, but you can make a 1-4-5 just explode if you want to.
Yeah, country was a style of music I wasn't really ever exposed to, other than, you know, the odd tune on a movie or a TV show or something. It's not something that I really grew up listening to, or there wasn't anything around that made it like it just wasn't. It wasn't something that was ever around when I was growing up. I found that later in life, and especially being like not later, still in my maybe my early 20s was when I first started listening to a bit of it. But then I heard guys like Brad Paisley and
dude,
Brad's
great.
He's so good.
He's so good. So good. He's one of the best in the game right now. He is.
Oh, here we go. That's good timing. Someone just mentioned Brad Paisley here. So here we go. Yeah, Brad is like country players. I've heard metal guys go, you know what? I'm bored with metal. I'm going to try to challenge myself and learn country. You know, like it's it's pretty much
especially, you know, trying to delve into a new genre, a new thing that has a completely different technique. It is talk about getting yourself out of a rut. Once you start hybrid picking, you can't go back. You know this. Like you can't. Once you start doing it, you can't remove it from your arsenal. It becomes who you are. Yes, I saw that comment. That was a Gabriel. Yes, there's a Brad Paisley video coming very, very soon. Which one do you want me to do? Yeah, it's the hybrid thing in particular. Once you start, and this is a country thing, and I played bluegrass, but bluegrass, you flat pick. You're not really hybrid picking in the same way. There's something about when you hybrid pick, you start thinking with both hands in triads. And once you start doing that, you can't unlearn it. It's like you can't remember not knowing what the color green is, but you knew at some point you didn't. But like when you hybrid pick, what happens is that this does what it's always done. But these three think in terms of triad clusters everywhere on the neck. So you start, like if you have a C, right? This is going to do all your lines or whatever. But this, you're constantly thinking of, okay, a triad is 3 notes. It's going to be 1 note per string because you can't play 2 notes on 1 string, and 1 finger is going to play each one. So you're constantly thinking like that C major triad is what these things are doing. So you got like you're always thinking with both hands in terms of harmony. And once you start doing that, you can't go back. You can't.
A bit like a piano player kind of vibe.
Exactly. Exactly. When you start using your picking hand to think more harmonically, like you're literally thinking of the chords in terms of these digits and not just connecting what's being held down on your other hand, it changes forever the way you play.
I want to throw a name at you here and see what your thoughts are. Jerry Reed.
So I haven't learned much Jerry Reed. I know who Jerry Reed is. I love his stuff. Yeah. I want to do a video on Jerry Reed very, very soon.
I'll type it in because I always feel like I say Jerry funny as an Aussie. Let's just put this in here.
You're not saying it funny. That's Jerry.
Yeah. All right. He's so like. He's got his vocal is so great. He's got all the great sort of hybrid picking stuff going on. Great showman. I found him like I knew Smokey in the Bandit since I was a kid, but I didn't know he was the guy that did all the music in that. Plus, he was also an actual.
I didn't know that either.
Music. Yeah, so he's the guy that does all the music. So that man, Jerry Reed is just like phenomenal, and Chet Atkins got a lot of his stuff and did a lot of his music as well. So,
Chet Atkins is next level. Chet Atkins is out of control. Not that Jerry Reed isn't, but like I remember seeing that one Chet Atkins Jerry Reed video. Maybe I should bring that up and do a video on that because I haven't seen it in years.
It's great stuff.
But it's just it's the two of them, and I remember watching that and just being like, "What the? Like this is so."
He's sweeping back in this like. In the early 70s, Chet is like doing those metal sweeps dead clean on a jazz guitar.
But like all the harmonic stuff too, like seeing all of the voice leading happening and the inversions, how they're each playing off the different inversions. So like if you're playing a piano and like you're playing the middle part and like, you know, you're doing a C, E, and G here, and then like the next person just comes up right with the C here and it's like perfectly in line. They're doing that in real time on the neck and and voice leading. Like I need to watch it again because it's been many years, but I remember watching that and I'm just being like, this would take me and a friend of mine 10 years to get this down. Like, and it wouldn't flow like this. Like it just unbelievable.
Yeah, it's awesome talent. No doubt about that at all. Todd Steele, thank you, mate. I appreciate this. He says, hi, guys. I suffer from what is known as lazy little finger. I think me too. That syndrome. It gets used but drops out of the way when it's not in use. Should I train it to stay up for more versatility, or is it not a big deal? I know from my own personal experience, I'm not much of a solid little finger guy, except for on chords. I like using it for chords, but Gary Moore, there's a lot of guys that don't ever use their little finger and they still play great, but I think there's an advantage to it long term. I used to try to avoid it all the time because I never had good dexterity in it. I probably still don't, but the more I incorporate it into chords, it sort of has opened up some opportunities for me. But what's your thoughts about that, Michael?
So, I think everything serves its purpose and serves a function. I think that the assumption that every finger should be able to do what every other finger does is incorrect. It's inherently flawed. I think that you'll find that the best players use different fingers for different reasons, and just from the way which ones come first to which ones are longer, which ones are stronger. Like this will never be as strong as this. It's just not happening. And this will always be fourth in line. This will always be first. You can't change it. So those people that are always like, oh, you got to bend with your pinky. You got to make your pinky stronger. It's not. I don't buy that. I use my pinky when the pinky is the best tool to use for whatever I'm trying to achieve. If I'm doing legato stuff, I need my pinky for the same reason that if I'm doing melodic lines, right? If I'm literally doing basic like that, I use my ring finger on purpose for all of those because it has the most control, and I have the most control with that finger over any others, over my vibrato and my sustain. Like, sure, I can do that with the first finger, second finger, or the pinky, but I'm going to do it with my ring finger every day because I'm playing a melody line, right? And it needs to be, and I need to be using the strongest tool for the job. If I'm doing something like something that needs the pinky, I use the pinky, but I don't use the pinky unless I need it. Yeah. And it's true for all the fingers. It really is true for all the fingers. Like I only use the first finger if it's the job for the first finger.
Yeah, well said. I look at it like as a good tool for adding like extending, say, a minor seventh. You can add a couple of notes, using the little pinky, but the fundamental is always the big three for me too. So great explanation. That's awesome. All right, we'll take a couple more questions, then we'll wrap it up because I've kept you an hour and a half coming up shortly. So thank you again.
It's all good, cool, man. If people are watching, they have questions. Let's do it. I'm in no rush. What do you see out there?
So I've seen this name come up a couple of times. Roy Clark. He's another guy I didn't find until not too long back. Just phenomenal. Everything. Just what can I say? Not only a great singer, great showman, great guitar player, great violin player. Yeah, complete smartass.
Yeah. I love Roy Clark. He's got some hilarious. He's got some hilarious stuff. Another guy, need to delve into these. Each one of these players like this is their own universe. You could spend forever dissecting their stuff. Other countries like Danny Gatton. You know who Danny Gatton is? Like,
yeah. I got his pickups in my tally.
Do you? Oh
yeah,
my
the
God.
Joe Barton, Danny Gatton ones. They're great. Really cool.
Unbelievable. Oh my God. I wish I was alive and someone took. Well, I was alive when he was alive, but I was young, but no one took me to see him. He was based out of DC, which is about 45 minutes south of me. But everybody always said that he was so oppressively loud.
Oh yeah. It's like Roy Buchanan was supposed to be like that too. He was supposed to just have a twin on 10, basically, right? Pointing at everybody's head. It's
someone
like,
wants to see the guitar. Yeah, for sure. I just saw that someone wanted to see the guitar. This.
Let me just swap the camera here. Here we go.
Yeah, this is the McCarty 594. This is faded whale blue, and this is the 10 top. This was the PRS that converted me. I tried, I don't know, 5, 6 or so PRSs before I found the one that I couldn't put down. And this guitar is no joke. It is really exceptional, and it changed the way that I play. For those of you that have seen my stuff, you've seen me talk about this, but I didn't start doing the back and forth violin vibrato until this guitar. All the other guitars I had, they were much more brute force instrument. They're bolt-ons, and you can do that vibrato or the circle or whatever. But I didn't start doing the little tiny nuances of forward and back, like non-fretted instrument players do, literally forward and back vibrato, because I had never had a guitar that exposed my vibrato as much as this one. And I plugged this one in, and I was like, wow, my vibrato is kind of trash. So I spent months and months trying to figure out why every time I picked up this guitar in general, I didn't like my vibrato, and it literally changed the way I play. The same way an amp will. I mean, you get, like, I had the amp I always use in this example is a Dr. Z Z-Rec. I had a Dr. Z Z-Rec, and it was the most percussive, the most sensitive, like every little tiny nuance that you could breathe at the pickups, right? Any little anything would come out the speaker. And it wasn't like one of these Fenders. It wasn't like one of these Marshalls that, even the ones with the big transformers, they really only go from like 2 to like 8.5 or so. Once you really start ripping at it, there's a ceiling there. It starts to naturally compress. Yes. Something about the true Class A stuff like the Dr. Z Z-Rec, where like literally it will keep getting louder until you break the strings off. There is no compression really that like dynamic compression that really happens. And when you play something like that, it completely changes the way you play, because you realize your dynamic sensibilities are not that sensible. They're not that good. Yeah. You realize that you're playing pretty much the same volume, the same attack the whole night, the whole gig. And guitars can do that too. And that is a PRS first. That is literally why this has been my number one for years.
Beautiful. We had a question here for you as well from Fantasy Kingpin. It says, Michael's lesson with Jake. Yeah.
So
how did that go?
So are you familiar with Humphreys McGee?
I'm not, no.
See, this is what I'm talking about, man. So I opened the rabbit hole with the whole jam band thing. And then once people saw that I was going down this journey, they came for me, right? And the Humphreys McGee fans came for me. And you've never heard of him, right? You've never heard of him. I'm watching this stuff. This dude, Jake Sininger, I'm telling you, is one of the baddest dudes on the planet. Like it is very, very rare that I turn something on and I'm like, wow, this is really, truly, and deeply different and special. And I feel like I'm starting at zero learning this stuff.
Yeah, wow.
He agreed to during this quarantine, he agreed to do lessons. And so I booked one with him, and it hasn't happened yet. It is on Wednesday, April 22nd.
Very cool.
Fantasy Kingpin. And with his permission, I'm going to post it on YouTube. And I'm
awesome.
Very excited for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it hasn't happened yet. But if you guys don't know about Humphreys McGee, check it out. It's like if your favorite prog band, like if King Crimson decided to be a jam band. I don't even know how to explain it, but it's like they go back and forth between so many different genres, and it's so tight. I mean, tight, real tight. There's a lot of the jam bands that they aren't that tight, and it's also, I'm learning that's also a kind of a thing in this genre where we're so used to your rhythm section being completely tight, and it's like a thing, and then like if it's off, you think the band's just not good. And I've realized that in this genre, not just moving around harmonically and melodically, they move around rhythmically too, and it's part of it,
Yeah, okay.
Where like they could play songs that are different tempos every night, and the tempo changes in the middle of the song. And a lot of these bands have two drummers, and they'll purposely play one behind, one a little ahead, and it's like part of it. And it's a whole universe. But anyway,
wow,
yeah, it's
very cool.
It's very wild, very wild.
That's awesome. Well, I'll tell you what, Michael, that's an hour and a half, mate. So I appreciate your time. Yeah. Well, I reckon that's plenty. Keep the rewatch value there. If we go for too long, it's hard to sometimes watch the entire thing back if you don't catch it in real time. But hey, I tell you what, it's been a lot of fun, man. So thank you for being a part of this. And yeah, we're also just secretly working on another project as well, where Michael's involved as well as a few other guys. So I haven't let the cat out of the bag yet to everybody about that, but it should be pretty fun. It should be pretty fun, and it's starting to come together. So
I'm pumped. Well, thank you for having me, man. This has been great. It's been great to talk to you again and talk guitar and talk music. I'm over here in my house. I got a bunch of kids. We're like homeschooling. We're making videos, and I feel like I don't even talk to any other adults. I don't ever get to do this. We just talk with friends about music and guitar. So I appreciate the invite, man. Thanks,
mate.
So much.
Can do this. We can do this whenever you want, mate. This has been fun, and it's good to sort of we can talk music, talk guitars, whatever you like. It's awesome. People seem to be enjoying that as well. We've got a lot of people watching, so cool. Very cool.
Tell Dr. Rick I said hi too.
Yeah, I will. He'll probably watch this back too. So massive thanks to everyone who used the super chat and even just joined in the chat as well. We had Todd Steele. We had the chat's not going to let me go all the way through, but Guitar Journey. There was a few others as well. So thanks to everyone who supports the show there. I appreciate it. We'll catch you on the next one. So I'll try and timestamp this after the fact as well, so people can skip through different sections if they so choose. But everybody go subscribe to Michael if you haven't done so already. And so, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say that someone just mentioned in the comments, same do Fantasy Kingpin, that if you're curious about kind of like about what I do, or even the last band I just mentioned, Humphreys McGee, I think I'm doing a live stream for a full show of theirs tomorrow night. So
wow,
you can check that out. And I've never watched a full show of theirs before, so like you get to see what it's all about. It's interesting.
Yeah. If it's not 4 a.m. my time, like I think the last one was, I'll be there, mate. So
no, it'll be this time. I think it's
okay, awesome.
I think it's like this exact time.
All right, done. Sounds good. I'll be there. All right. Thanks again to everybody for joining in. I appreciate it. And we'll catch you. I'll try to do a couple of these live streams coming up over the next few weeks as well. And keep it interesting. So yeah, thanks again.
Yep.